Hi, welcome to the show, My Humble Opinion. I'm your host, Antonio. Today, we're doing a movie review on The Flash. Before you do anything, like, comment, subscribe. It's free. My back hurting. Can you do it for me? Like, comment, subscribe. The kid back hurting. Thank you very much. The movie, The Flash, directed by Andy Muschietti. The official plot of the movie, before we get into it, I don't want to confuse anybody. Barry Allen uses his super speed to change the past, but his attempt to save his family creates a world without superheroes, forcing him into the race of his life in order to save the future. Now, this movie had a lot of hype behind it, had a lot of delays. The movie was made almost 2.5, 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, and yet it's just now coming out this year in the summer of June 2023. Some of the pros of the movie, right off the top, for me, I'm gonna go through the pros. I'm gonna give you some cons. The pros of the movie was the star Ezra Miller. We all know, well, most of us know that in the headlines, this guy's been in the headlines for a lot of stuff that he shouldn't be in the headlines for, and this movie was put pretty much on the back burner because of some of his behavior. However, with that being said, I'm just giving my review on the movie itself, and off the movie itself, this guy, he performed well. He played two parts. He played an older Barry Allen / The Flash, and when he went back into the past, he also played his younger self. Now, with that being said, the reason I think he did a great job is simple. I couldn't tell that this guy was not the same person. He played the same character, just one older, one a couple years younger, and he made both of them seem like two separately different people. Another selling point of the movie for an older generation was Michael Keaton coming back as Batman. He was a key selling point to the past generation. He was able to do stuff in this movie that in the past he was not able to do because of technology in 1989 and then in 1992. Supergirl, Sasha Calle, I thought she was also a standout. The three main superheroes, again, the Flash, Batman, and Supergirl, to me, they all did a great job. Sasha Calle did not have a big part in the movie, but whenever she was on the scene, her presence stood out. She was very menacing. She looked great in the costume. Okay, she looked great, but more importantly, her presence was very menacing. She gave off the how do you say it? She gave off the physicality of the role. She made you think at any point she could really hurt anybody on the screen, and I thought she sold the role well for what they gave her, which they did not give her a lot, but for what they gave her, she sold the part well. Another pro of the movie was its emotional pull. The movie itself is a very simple plot. Obviously, Barry goes back into the past. He wants to save his mom's life, and by saving his mom's life, he now creates a future that he goes back to that is not the future that he thought it would be. First of all, he doesn't go all the way to the future like he thought he did, like he thought he was trying to go. He actually gets stuck a couple years before the point of which he went back to the past, and he also thinks it's supposed to just be him there, but instead his younger stuff is still there, which lets you know that he actually didn't create a new future. He's in a whole different universe. So with that being said, the movie's emotional pull is to keep you invested in him trying to save his mom. And that emotional grip really sold well for me in the movie, especially the ending scene in which Barry has to basically make the decision of, hey, I can't save my mom. This is a fixed point that I cannot change at all, because if I change it, it creates so many problems for not only my world, but different universes. So he has to make the decision basically to sacrifice his own mother, which for me definitely held a lot of weight and definitely kept me invested in the thin plot that this movie had. It's 2 hours and almost 30 minutes. It definitely didn't feel that way, so the movie went by in a breeze. So for me, that's always a positive. You get a movie over 2 hours 20 minutes, 2 hours 15, 2 hours 30, and you look at your watch and the movie is almost over, and it didn't feel like you wasted any time, that's a positive. Now, some of the cons, as you know, the CGI was not the best at certain points. I heard people say it could look like PlayStation 2. I'm not going to go that far. It did have a maybe PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 type of vibe. But some of the CGI was a little bit taking you out of it. Like the beginning scene, there's a scene where the Flash saves almost like 10 babies, and they do close-up shots on all of the babies, and all of the babies look like CGI little demons. They don't even look like babies. They look like literally demons to me. So it kind of took me emotionally out of it. I kind of started to, they want you to laugh, but they want you to stay invested in the babies. But I just was laughing. It just looked a little cartoony. I also didn't like the Flash running style. I'm not a fan of his running style in any of the DCEU movies. I think the way they do it on the TV show is better. I like the way the Speedster ran in the Eternals much better. The way the Flash runs in this movie, where he's flapping his arms back and forth, also is almost comedy to me. But with that being said, not a lot of cons in the movie. I thought this was a very good movie. It's not getting a warm response as far as box office, and we're gonna get to that very soon. But as far as for me go, on a scale of 1 to 10, I gave it a 7.5. If you had to, push me on the wall, I'll probably get it a 7, because my last con, the bad guy. Who is the bad guy? I mean, in the trailer they make you think it's General Zod, and he does play a part in the movie, but it's not a big part. His motivation does not seem, you do not feel the weight of a motivation. I went with somebody who never saw the Man of Steel, so they definitely didn't feel the weight of General Zod's his motivations. So they definitely didn't feel the weight of that. And then for me, seeing Man of Steel and seeing this, it just felt like he was there for a small plot point, and that's it. It just wasn't a lot of weight there for me. So the villain of the movie being General Zod, I thought didn't really hold me too well. Now, with that being said, I do give the movie a strong 7. So yeah, I give the movie a 7.5. If you want to push it to the side, I do think it's worth the general admission. But with that being said, for me personally, I look a little bit more for a movie that, I'm going to when it comes to villains. For me, you want to get a 9, that villain better be top tier. This movie villain was not, so we're gonna stick to landing at a 7. The box office numbers after 2 weeks, we had, as of Friday, via Box Office Mojo, we're at $76 million domestically. That's between America and Canada, and internationally, we're just under 100 million at 99 million. The movie The Flash sits right now with a worldwide gross of 176 million against a budget of 200 reportedly to 220 million. Now, for comparison's sake, some of you might not understand what that even means. Okay, the movie's at 176 million. Is that good? Is that bad? Well, with a budget of 200, it's reportedly 220 million. After 2 weeks, 176 million is not good. You want this movie to be at least up to 300 million at this point, or well over 300 million. Instead, it's not even at 200 million. So to me, as of right now, it's a box office failure, and that's how it's being reported. And me personally, I'm gonna give you my humble opinion, and to my humble opinion, that is a failure. Like I said, you want the movie to be somewhere around 300 million, because it's not. I mean, not even 300 million. It's lower than 200 million. So right now, it's a box office failure. If I had to guess, I would think that this movie at the end of its run would be just under 300 million. On a $220 million budget, that movie needs to make at least $500 million. That's just how it goes in Hollywood. If a movie is, say, $200 million made, you need to make at least double. Some people say 2.5. So if it's 220, let's do the high end. If it's 220, this movie should have made about 500 million. If it ends its run around 300 million, you could probably guesstimate this movie is going to lose roughly over 150 million. Reason being, the movie's still going to make money being licensed to TV and streaming services. So it's going to make some money, and DVDs and stuff like that. It's still going to make some money on the back end, but it's never going to be enough to close the gap of losing 200 to 220 million in its theatrical release, which is movie theaters. All right, so with that being said, this was my humble opinion on The Flash. I'm going to try to get better at this. I'm going to try to get better at the production. I thank you for joining the show today. Again, my humble opinion, your host, Antonio. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll be back with another video. Thank you for joining me.